it wouldn't be the Call of Duty League scene without a little bit of drama. So if you guys have been following over the last few days, there has been some back and forth between the Toronto Ultra and Brack. There's a whole situation that's been going on. So in this video, I just want to take you through Toronto's response. I want to take you through Brack's response, and then we can kind of compare. There is a little bit out there from others in the community that we'll cover as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead. This is from the Toronto Ultra. It was earlier this morning or yesterday morning when you're watching this, and they said the truth about Brack. If you click on this twit longer, you get this. So I'll go through and I'll skim through some of it, but essentially they say, over the past few days, Toronto Ultra's treatment of its players has been called into question, and some allegations have been made that simply do not align with the facts known to us. We are posting this statement to provide our perspective on these false and harmful allegations. We owe this to our players, fans, staff, and all those who care about Toronto Ultra. Brack came to us asking to return home to be with his family at a difficult time. We, of course, alleviated him from team obligations to go home on compassionate leave. We want to be very clear that we continue to pay Brack for his full salary as a compassionate leave, despite the fact that we had no contractual or legal obligation to do so that he could be with his loved ones without financial pressure to return to his job. Now, we'll get into that situation when we look at the reply from Brack, so you guys will get a little bit of a better idea in terms of what actually was going on and why Brack went back. But to continue on with this, Toronto said some days later, he came to us to say he was now ill and indicating that he cannot return to Toronto. He also outlines how he was ill and why he was ill. Again, we'll look at it in just a moment. We continued to pay him. Finally, we provided him with a very generous time period in which to produce sufficient medical documentation substantiating his illness to help us understand when he might return. So I think at this point in time, Toronto might have thought, well, maybe things are getting a little bit fishy. So let's go ahead and let's require a response from him from a medical doctor. They said we subsequently learned that he had cleaned out his belongings from his residence in advance of leaving Toronto for the family emergency, indicating to us that he never intended to return to his work duties in the first place. He also goes on to kind of cover this part a little bit. With an unwillingness to cooperate and a significant amount of compassionate leave paid, we could not reasonably keep paying Brack's salary. We are a proud organization with great people who truly care about our work and each other. This has been a tough year on everyone, but at some point, an organization has to stand up for itself and protect its people, its reputation. We cannot let these false statements about Toronto Ultra's conduct continue unanswered. We believe our conduct has been entirely reasonable, even characterized as generous towards Brack. We will stand by our conduct and our people. So it seems like what happened from Toronto's point of view is that they let Brack go home for the emergency that was going on. After so long of not returning, they asked him for medical documentation. Then after that, they got word that he had already cleaned out his apartment, which if that was the case and they weren't hearing back from Brack, that's when they stopped payment and decided to just essentially cut him off. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at the other side of the story. If we look at Brack here, he did say, didn't plan on saying anything, but with Toronto Ultra releasing a statement, I find it necessary to come out and tell my side of the story. So this is his side. If we go ahead and look at this, it says, after going home to see my grandpa, I contracted a staph infection in my nose, and my doctor told me explicitly not to travel back to Toronto. I gave Ultra the doctor's note seen below, no travel for 14 until follow-up with me within 24 hours of the diagnosis. So it makes it seem like Brack got this doctor's note and immediately forwarded it within 24 hours to Toronto. Again, it says he had a staph infection, that he was not to travel for 14 days until he had a follow-up with his doctor. He said, so I gave this within 24 hours of the diagnosis, but the org didn't believe me and tried to force me to come back to Toronto in the middle of a global health pandemic in order to receive my salary. Toronto Ultra did not pay me despite providing a doctor's note from a licensed medical professional urging me not to return to Toronto. So this makes things seem like Brack was in the right. Let's carry on just a little bit. He says, when I left Toronto to be with my grandpa during his open heart surgery, I moved my furniture out. I lived up there with my girlfriend Taylor and my dog, and we had a lot of shared furniture and pet supplies in our apartment. There was only 1 month left in the season, and it was easier to move everything out with Taylor's help instead of coming back to Toronto and moving it all myself. I told Ultra about this ahead of time. So in this paragraph, he kind of replies with why exactly he moved his stuff out early. If he was going home and all that was happening with his grandpa, then if he's leaving early and there's only a month left with their lease or in the season, then it might have made sense just to clear out the most of it while he still had help, rather than having to go back all by himself and pack up the apartment then. To continue on, he said the plan was always to come back. I was willing to scrim from home and do any media duties required from home to the best of my ability. Despite my doctor's recommendation against travel, Ultra continued to withhold pay. Then he just goes on to say, I want to end by thanking a few people in the Call of Duty scene, including Crim, Attach, and the Los Angeles Guerrillas, who have reached out to show true compassion and support to my family situation this season. Thank you to Ian for the advice, Dylan for always showing your support behind the scenes, and for Los Angeles Guerrillas for offering to provide additional support to me and my family. Thank you, and look forward to next season improving what I can, whatever it takes. So from there, that's basically the end of the story. I mean, I guess you guys can elect who do you think is telling the truth. What is your take on the scenario? I will say, and this is somebody that is, highly regarded in the scene. Richard Lewis did happen to say this afterwards. Richard Lewis said, I do consultancy work for a modest fee, but will give out this lesson for free. If you're a professional organization, don't use TwitLonger for statements. If you are amateur enough to do that, never, and I mean never, label your statement as the truth. So I understand. I've seen this a few different places. If you're going through a situation like this and you're the organization, maybe you just want to say like the situation with Brack, right? You don't want to say the truth because that makes it seem like what you're saying is the absolute truth and, this is actually what happened, whereas there are always two sides of the story. For me personally, I don't know, right? I don't want to say this is what happened and this was in the right and Toronto's in the wrong or Brack's in the wrong. I don't know. I feel like if you're not part of that either organization or Brack, then sure, you could go ahead and lend what you think is the truth, but all that's really doing is possibly spreading rumors, and that's not what this is all about, right? I just wanted to cover the story. I do think that, the timeline seems like Brack was taking care of business when he should have, but maybe it got lost in translation. I mean, you can't really say what exactly happened, but just wanted to make sure that we were covering it. So down in the comments below, let me know how you're feeling overall. Do you think that this was just a lack in communication? Maybe something just went abide and nobody really knows. I don't know. It's all kind of confusing, right? I don't know who to believe here, but what do you think down below? I'm just happy that the two sides are seeming to move on a little bit, and hopefully they can get past this and go from there. So down in the comments below, let me know what you're thinking about this. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like. It always helps out the channel. Thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.